Hello and welcome to Wine Times and the recipe section. Today I'm joined by Vanessa from Cooks Academy here in the centre of Dublin, and I've got a particularly nice classic Sancerre for us to taste later with a magnificent dish that Vanessa is going to cook for us. I think it's something for a smart dinner party. So what is it, Vanessa, that you've got for us today?
Well, Siobhan, what we're going to do is a lovely sea bass with a lemon beurre blanc and some wilted spinach for a lovely dinner party that you want to impress your friends. And we'll learn some nice techniques here in the next few minutes while we cook it.
The Beurre Blanc sauce sounds fantastic. So
yeah, so I'll just run through the ingredients. So we've got our Beurre Blanc sauce, which is going to go with the sea bass. So for the Beurre Blanc, we have some butter. Unsalted is preferable. We have some white wine, so it's a hot emulsified butter sauce. We have our reduction is going to start with a bay leaf, some peppercorns, shallots, thyme, some cider vinegar, some double cream, which is going to stabilise our sauce because it is important that it doesn't split, and a little bit of lemon juice just at the end. Okay. And obviously some gorgeous sea bass fillets here, which I would say get your fishmonger to do all the scaling for you. But do check for pin bones, just to make sure that people aren't getting bones in their dish. And of course we're going to serve it with some lovely spinach and maybe some baby potatoes, cherry tomatoes.
Looks delicious. What about the sauce? Are you thinking it's quite calorific, or is there...
It is, but you're going to, put the effort into the sauce, put all your time into making the sauce. So I think keep the rest of your menu really fresh, clean, just simple spinach, the sea bass. You could steam all of the veg that are going to accompany it as well. So, the sauce is the indulgent bit, if you like.
Okay.
So Siobhan, the first thing is to start your Beurre Blanc. And it's a very satisfying thing to learn to make a nice sauce, to just build on your culinary repertoire. And what I'm putting in there is the white wine, a bay leaf, some peppercorns, some shallots, which are finely chopped up. And I think a lot of shallots is nice because it really adds to the flavour.
Yes.
And that goes in there with a bit of thyme. And I'm going to add in some cider vinegar as well. Now, what we do is we want to bring that to the boil, so fairly high heat. And once that starts to bubble, we'll just let it reduce down, and then we can start to add in our cold butter.
So a bit of patience is required here, just to...
A little bit, or just move it to a higher heat if you need to. So we'll wait a few minutes.
Okay. Yes, you can see that reducing down nicely, Vanessa. Yeah.
And what we're looking for is to get it down to maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons.
Okay.
Before we start adding our cream and butter.
Okay.
So as you can see now, Siobhan, this is reduced down just to like a tablespoon.
Yeah.
We're going to lower our heat a little bit here. I'm just going to remove our bay leaf and thyme, and I'm going to start adding the butter. Now the butter has to be cold, as you can see there. It's come from the fridge.
Okay.
And we're going to start whisking that in. And I'm going to move it to a lower heat as well, because the main thing is not to let the butter overheat here. Okay, so as I say, we start to add our butter here. It's a little bit noisy, but it's the thing that you would do when your guests are there. So as you can see, Siobhan, it's a lot of butter there, but if you feel you don't want to add as much and your sauce is looking nice and shiny like it is here, it's going to coat eventually the back of the spoon. So, you can stop adding the butter because you've got such a good flavour there from the shallots and the wine and the vinegar. So what's important is to make sure your heat doesn't get too hot, otherwise the sauce could split.
And that you've got a nice consistency,
So we've got a lovely sheen there.
Yes.
Silky.
It really looks lovely.
Yeah, so we want to season it first, and then we want to strain it to get a nice silky smooth sauce.
Okay,
if you hand me the salt there, a little bit of salt. Just need a fair pinch of salt.
A little bit of lemon juice. Yeah.
And we'll taste it then. And we'll add a little bit of, if you would pass me the pepper milk.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I'll just taste that. Just make sure the seasoning's right.
Yeah.
Lovely. And then what we'll do now is sieve it to get a nice smooth sauce. And what's important then is that we hold that just while the fish is cooking at the last minute.
Okay.
Make sure it doesn't overheat, and stir it a few times as well.
Yeah, just to make sure.
Yeah. And another spoon just to sieve this through. Perfect. Just to... That way we're getting rid of all the shallots and the peppercorns that we put in for the reduction earlier on. And while I'm going to hold this, I'm going to start my fish. So I'm heating my pan there. So Siobhan, now what we're going to do is just prepare our sea bass. So as I said, the fishmonger will have prepared it mostly for you. But we want to create these scores in the skin of the fish. Okay. So I'm just going to show you how to do that just on the diagonal. And that's going to make sure that the fish doesn't kind of curl up as it's being fried. And try not to go through to the very the other side. Now, when my pan is very, very hot, and I know that by just holding my hand over it, I want to get a nice colour on it. So we'll put some oil in the pan. Okay. Just some sunflower oil or clarified butter would be perfect, even better. Okay. And we're going to put the sea bass skin side down, and that's your presentation side.
Okay.
That's going to be important as to how it looks on the plate.
Okay.
That'll only take a few minutes to cook, and then what we're going to do in the meantime is just season it nicely. Just the white part of the fish, a tiny bit of salt, and that'll cook very, very quickly on the other side once we turn them over. So I'm going to heat my pan for the spinach while I'm here. Put a little bit of butter in here. Now try and use a big pan, a big wide pan for spinach.
Okay.
Just to make sure that it has enough space to wilt down, because this is going to really reduce. It's amazing how spinach does reduce down.
Okay, so nicely turned over.
Yeah.
Very nicely.
And at this stage we can add our spinach, because that really only takes a few minutes to wilt down. Keeping an eye on it and stirring it as you go.
Okay.
So as you can see, Siobhan, we're ready now to serve this delicious dish to our guests. So what I'll do is just not fully wilt the spinach. Just let the juice drip out of it a little bit. Pop that on the plate in the centre. A nice generous portion. And I'm going to season that with a little bit of salt and pepper as well. The salt really does add to the flavour of the spinach. And a little bit of pepper.
The lovely cherry tomatoes there.
Yeah, just to make the dish look really, really nice. And then one of our sea bass fillets. And of course, the bigger your pan, the better for feeding 4 people or 2, you know, just depends. And then the last thing, of course, is our gorgeous Beurre Blanc. So just a little stir here. And then we're going to just drizzle that over the side.
It just looks magnificent.
And of course, you don't need to add. People can always have a little jug and help themselves to a little bit more if they need to. So that's our sea bass with spinach and a lemon Beurre Blanc sauce. And I think that would impress any guests that you serve it to.
I'm certainly very impressed, Vanessa. That looks completely wonderful and delicious, and wow, can't wait to get stuck in. And just finally on the wines again, I mean, this is just so special and so classical. Working with your, you know, that very famous Sancerre or Pouilly-Fumé from the old world, moving then into New World, some wonderful New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, indeed, from South Africa, and across the globe there are some fantastic Sauvignons, would just be superb. Just cutting through the oiliness in the fish and that beautiful Beurre Blanc sauce. What a special treat. Thanks very much, Vanessa.
You're welcome, thank you.